What the fuck? Holy shit, that's a big fucking spider. Holy shit. Oh my fucking god. This is part 2 of my scary stories for my road life as a solo female traveler. I came out to this park because I wanted to add a little bit of a creepy vibe in this video, considering I know it's going to be published around Halloween. But I got a little more than what I asked for. There is a massive spider about 10 feet that way, just hanging from the sky. It just fell from nowhere and it's just swinging back and forth. And I am super grossed out, creeped out, and I'm somewhat afraid that it's going to end up on me. And another part of me is afraid that another one is going to drop out of the sky above me and beyond me. So I am legitimately creeped out this video. Awesome. Okay. I don't know where it went. That worries me. If you see it crawling on me during this video, let me know in the comments. That makes no sense. Last time I told you about what happened in Burnaby when I was harassed multiple times in the course of a couple of days. The rest of the stories happen over about a year. And again, you're gonna notice a common theme in terms of what kind of a demographic has been harassing me this whole time. And I don't want people to get the impression that all men are like this. So I'm also going to include at the end a couple of situations that show good men and what they've actually done to be heroic on my journey. The first story that happened was in Winnipeg, which many of you have seen. When I was stuck in Winnipeg, I had been hammering a piece of wood into the side of the van. And I was trying to fix the shelf, the lopsided shelf that's in there. Maybe 10 minutes later, I had moved the van to go around behind the pet shop to throw my garbage in the trash and do some dishes. Next thing I know, the cops show up. And even though they don't have a warrant, when they asked if they could come in and see my van, I let them, because I knew that if I said no, that they would be watching me the entire time I was there. So I just let them come in and see what was going on, because apparently someone had called and told them that I had someone stuck in my van. When they came in and saw that it was a camper and there was no one stuck in my van, they left. I moved again and I parked in front of the Home Depot, and this pickup truck parked next to me weirdly, and the guy got out and was staring at me and kind of giving me dirty looks. Then he gets back into his pickup truck and parks in front of me, but not in a lane, so or in a parking spot. So there was one parking spot here and one parking spot here, and he parked in between two parking spots on the line to make sure that he was directly in front of me. And he just sat there mean mugging me, just giving me dirty looks the whole time he was there, which is totally ridiculous. And I'm sitting there on my laptop doing work or whatever. So it was creeping me out, and I tried filming it, but I was afraid to really put it up and film his face, which now I'm no longer afraid to do that. Now I will get right into your face, and I should have done that then, but I was new and I didn't know any better. So ladies, if someone is acting weird around you, especially a man, feel free to put your camera in his face, because you might need that footage for later. The next story that I can remember is when I was in North Vancouver, so not long after that, maybe I guess about a month after that. It was winter. I was sitting in the grocery store parking lot, and there was a guy parked in a spot in front of me. And I had my van running. It's broad daylight. I had my van running at the time because I was cold, because it was winter, and at that time I had limited ways to keep the van warm, and so that's what I was doing. I was using the van heater to keep the van warm. So for whatever reason, he gets out of his car, comes up to my van and starts screaming at me to shut my high beams off, which they were not on. This guy is taking a picture of my license plate right now and calling the police because he thinks my high beams are on, which they are not. And now we have evidence.
Get your lights off. Get your lights off. You stupid bitch.
Okay, well, you know, that. And I'm pretty sure I told him that they were not on, but as he's yelling at me, I had to take out my camera, and this time I definitely filmed because this guy was really aggressive. And I was like, I need to film this guy because if he does hit me, I need to know, I need evidence. I need to know who it was, right? As he's yelling at me, I just stopped talking because he obviously wasn't listening to me when I was trying to tell him that my high beams weren't even on. He's just kept insisting that I shut them off even though there was nothing to shut off. So as he's yelling and waving his fist in my face and threatening to hit me, he also called the cops, got my license plate, went around the back of my van and got my license plate like they all do apparently. And then eventually he gives up and he goes back to his car and he drives away, which he could have done in the first place. You know, it's really scary when something like that happens. If only there was someone around that I knew, maybe another van lifer that could have had my back, you know, especially maybe another female van lifer. If only there was another female van lifer around when that happened, right next to us, listening to the guy yelling, obviously hearing what's going on, you know, because girls supporting girls, right? Too bad that didn't happen. I cannot fathom a situation where there is another woman being accosted by a grown man as he threatens to punch her and not do anything about it. And I understand that there are women who freeze up in situations like that and don't feel like they can do anything like that because they're smaller and weaker than the guy who's accosting someone, and they don't feel like they have any ability to do anything about it. But in a situation like this, I would have definitely, at the very least, called the police. And at the end, after the guy had left, I would have gotten out of my van and went to check on the other girl and asked her if she was okay. But that's just what I would do. And probably every other woman that I've ever met. The next story that I can remember is something that happened on the second road trip on our way to Ottawa when I was with Bev. When we got to the Walmart in Merritt, the entire Walmart parking lot was empty. Maybe there was a couple cars, but they were far from us. And at some point, I'm in the camper, and Bev comes into the camper and says, "There's a guy out here," and goes back out. So she was outside trying to close up the truck. So I opened the door to see what was going on. Can I help you?
No, I'm just walking over there.
Okay.
Yeah. I've been living out in parking lots for many years now.
Okay.
And I've gotten in well, it's not really necessary to explain.
I'm sorry?
Oh, I'm an old truck driver.
Okay.
And you can't get up in the middle of the night for a pee when you're driving a truck.
Okay.
So you use a bottle.
Okay.
So then you dump the bottle beside the road somewhere.
Uh-huh.
The whole thing is a little bit embarrassing. I don't really need to explain myself.
No, it's fine.
I met an old trucker once who said that after 20 years he persuaded his wife to take a trip with him.
Uh-huh.
At the end of the trip she told him, "I'm never going to do that again.
Okay.
I could put up with the way you work 15 hours a day, with the horrible people you have to deal with the way you sleep with a gun under your pillow, with the filth and the crowding and the noise. but I can't tolerate the way you roll on your side and pee into a bottle.
All right. Have a good night, sir.
Have a good night.
Good night.
Are you guys traveling for long, or this?
Well, it depends what our boyfriends say. So, bye. Bye. Have a good night. Very strange things to say to strangers or anyone, especially women who you don't know. So I'm trying to assess if this guy is dangerous or not, considering the topics he's bringing up. I noticed that he's holding his pee bottle. And on the road, it's normal to have a pee bottle. It's also normal to leave your vehicle to go dump your pee bottle. What's not normal is to walk around casually with your pee bottle, standing behind other people's vehicles until they come talk to you, and then standing there with your pee bottle in your hand, telling a big long story, and then bringing up the fact that you have a pee bottle a couple of times, and then never leaving to go dump your pee bottle. It was full, by the way, if I didn't mention that. So that was strange, and he seems jovial and someone harmless, right? But the truth is, you never know. And he was not being logical, you know what I mean? So if someone is not making sense, they could potentially do other things that don't make sense. So I ended the conversation and we went back into the camper, and he again started asking us other questions in regards to something about our travels, right? And obviously I don't want to give him any information, so I told him, well, we have to check in with our boyfriends, as if there were other people with us, right? And then I went into the camper and I took my phone out, and this is something it's a tip that I got from this girl named Adele on YouTube. If she watches this, which she won't, but if she watches this, sup Adele? Don't do that, Natasha. That's stupid. Okay, so I got this tip from this girl Adele, and her tip was to go on YouTube and look up male voice or something and then play it. So I guess it's like ASMR or something like that. And so I did exactly that. I found a male voice and played the video on my phone as loud as I could, and hoping that he would hear it, like putting it near the door. I don't know if he heard it, and even if he heard it, I don't think that he had the mental capacity to understand that that could potentially be a threat to him. Either way, it was pretty funny in the moment. It was funny because at that point we were safe, right? Also, worth mentioning is that in this entire parking lot, this entire empty parking lot, he parked right beside us, directly beside us, which everyone knows, unless you're new, everyone pretty much knows that you want to give other people space, right? As much space as seems appropriate. Anyone sane would probably not park right next to you when you're a stranger in a completely empty parking lot. So there were a lot of red flags, kind of sketchy. The last few stories that I'm going to tell you all happened in Nanaimo, because I was in Nanaimo for quite a while, and about 5 months, and in 5 months there were a lot of weird things that happened. One of them, hi.
Can I know what you're doing?
I'm filming a vlog.
Oh, that's awesome. Can I be in it?
Sure? What's your name?
Gavin.
Gavin, okay.
What's yours?
Natasha.
Natasha.
So this is my new friend Gavin.
This is my new friend Natasha, guys. Is it gonna go on YouTube?
Yeah.
Awesome. Wow. What type of shit do you do? Just daily vlogs?
No, I do van life vlogs.
Oh, you live in this thing?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So you just go place to place?
Yeah.
Nice.
Travel the country a couple times.
You have?
Yeah.
How was that?
Oh, a lot of fun. Yeah.
Did you see any crazy shit?
A lot of crazy shit.
Can I know the craziest thing you saw?
Yeah, I'm gonna tell the story.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna be listening.
All right,
Oh,
cool.
It's very nice to meet
One of the other instances that I didn't get on film that happened to me around that same park was this one morning. I went to park early in the morning, and there was a truck parked beside me. Or I was parked like this, he was parked like this. And it was the crack of dawn, so I just assumed that he was there to have his coffee watching the sunrise. My cat, for one of the only few times she has ever tried to get out of the van, jumped out the window and ran towards the road. So I jumped out of the van and went to grab her and then got back in. And so all the ruckus that I was making, I felt bad because I thought I was disturbing his morning coffee and sunrise. So I just said, "Sorry about that, sir," and got back in the van. So he starts pulling out, and I'm thinking maybe he's upset with what I was just like doing this whole show with my cats or whatever. He parks beside me and asks me what I said, and I repeated myself. "I just didn't want to disturb you. Sorry about that if I disturbed your morning." And he said something about, "No, that's fine." And then he just stood there, stared at me, very weird, very, very weird and creepy. Then he drives away, and he comes back an hour later, comes back, pulls in beside me. So I'm in the back cooking breakfast. The curtains are closed. And next thing I know, he's almost inside my freaking van. With his head is fully in my van, arms over the window, and he's trying to get my attention. "Hey, hi, hello." And I'm freaking out. I open the curtains. I'm like, "Hello?" And he's just asking me, "How is it going?" Which was super weird. I'm like, "Can I help you?" And I'm trying to be nice because I'm still not, this is still early on in the process of me understanding how much harassment that people get on the road, especially women, okay? So and then he leans over and he goes, "Do you need any money?" And I'm like, part of me is like, did he just try to solicit me? Is he asking me if I'm a hooker? Right? And I'm like, okay, well, I don't know how to handle this, because in case he's not asking that, I don't want to be rude. So I'm just like, "No, that's fine, sir. I work. I'm good. I make my own money." And then he left. And I have since learned from other van lifers that he was most likely soliciting me and trying to find out if I was a hooker. So that was one of the worst instances that happened to me on the island. And I have grown much more of a backbone since then. I am much more rude. I put my camera in people's faces, and I don't care about their feelings so much anymore. I have one more story that I want to tell you, and I have footage for this one. So this was at Tim Hortons, and I was sitting in the Tim Hortons doing work on my laptop, and the security guard who came in because the manager had called her. The security guard comes into the Tim Hortons, and he's going to remove this homeless guy that fell asleep while drinking his coffee. But he was not gentle with the guy. He was actually quite rude and just forceful. And the guy wasn't doing anything wrong. He purchased his food and his coffee. So the whole thing really felt mean, overly mean. And he told the guy that he needs to get up and go home. But the guy was obviously homeless, or he wouldn't have been kicking him out in the first place, which is a whole nother thing that I'll talk about at some later date. I said, "Sir, you're being insensitive." And he said, "No, I'm not. He needs to leave." I said, "Not everyone has a home." And he's like, "Yes, they do." So he was obviously wrong, and instead of accepting that he was wrong, got extremely defensive, then keeps arguing with me while I'm trying to work, then finally leaves, arguing meaning basically yelling at me and saying things that don't make any sense, finally leaves, comes back in a couple minutes later and leans over to me and says, "You know you can only stay here 4 hours, eh?" I'm like, "I've been here for 20 minutes and I have food in front of me. What is your problem?" And he points to my van outside and he goes, "Is that yours?" And I'm like, "Yes, why? I see you here a lot." because I drink coffee. And he finally leaves after threatening me, and then a few minutes later I see him outside my van, basically just walking around my van. And I've been at this Tim Hortons for 30 minutes now. He's walking around my van, peering in the windows like a creeper, and writes out something and puts it on my windshield. And then I see him in the back of my van writing something and then talking to these kids. And I go outside. I'm like, I can't believe this. Just because I told him he was being insensitive, he has a vendetta against me and has been doing this whole entire time. I get up, I run outside, I'm like, I take out my camera, I start filming him because I need proof of what he's doing. I checked the thing on my window and it was like a security guard ticket where he told me not to park there, or it just said the time that I had parked. It didn't make any sense. This is my evidence, because what you're doing is harassment.
Oh, I'm taking this. I seen you park.
I purchased food here 4 times yesterday, sir. I'm not over my limit.
Anyway,
okay? I just spoke to the manager, and this is not your job. This is harassment. I'm going to call the police.
You go ahead. Go ahead.
You're a f***ing asshole. Like, literally, you're a f***ing asshole.
Where to me? You want me to phone the police?
Go for it.
Phone him.
Go for it.
Let me just do my job, right?
Why are you guys here? Why are you friends with this guy? He's a
because he used to work here.
Oh. Make better friends.
Why are you talking to these people?
Make friends with quality people. This man likes to harass people. Do you know why he's harassing me right now? He kicked someone out inside and he told him to go home, and the guy was homeless. And I told him he was being insensitive. And he said, everyone has a home. I said, sir, just choose better words. That's the kind of asshole you're hanging out with. Get a mentor. What you're doing right now, sir, is absolute f***ing harassment.
What year is the vehicle?
None of your f***ing business. Are you a police officer? You're not. Why don't you go home?
Why?
Why don't you go home?
Why?
My PTSD was triggered. I was just really kind of spiraling, but trying to hold my stuff together. I ended up calling the police, saying that I was being harassed, and they said that they couldn't do anything about it and that I need to call his boss. So I did. I contacted his boss. I sent them the footage, and they emailed me back saying that they were taking it seriously and that it had been dealt with. At this point, I didn't think that I should put his face on the internet because it had been dealt with. And then I thought about it, and I thought, I don't really care. What I'm doing now, after everything that I've experienced, is I am going to be posting every single creep I encounter that accosts me. I'm putting every single one of their faces on the internet. I am no longer going to be polite or nice or it's okay, sir, that you have your face in my van. I don't want to be rude or hurt your feelings because you might not have bad intentions. You might just be a fucking idiot. I'm not doing that anymore. I don't care about their feelings over my feelings. That's the key. Their feelings are not more important than my feelings. When a man makes a woman feel unsafe, creeped out, disrespected, stomped on, suppressed, whatever the case may be, when our feelings are hurt in some way, then that should be a priority for us, not their feelings. So like I said in the beginning, I'm also going to show you guys a couple of instances where men were actually really good people and were actually my heroes. First up, we have the guy in North Bay who showed up out of nowhere and pulled me out of a ditch. Didn't ask for anything, just did it and took off afterwards. He was a true hero. I believe his name was Kevin. It might have been Eric, but I think it was Kevin. Dude, you are the man. Thank you so much. Also were the 2 guys who picked me up in Calgary to drive me home. Awesome. Thank you so much, you guys. Really saved me there. I was really screwed when I was stuck in Calgary. There are good men in the world. There are some real garbage men in the world, but there are some really good men in the world. So we cannot judge them all the same. But at the same time, ladies, don't be polite. Take your camera out. Don't be afraid to make someone else uncomfortable. Don't be afraid to be rude, and put yourself first. Stay safe. As I was walking back to the van, I just noticed this. You guys see all this coffee that's on the back of my van? So that's another example of the glorious people in this world, guys. This happened today. I didn't realize it. I had heard a thud in the back of my van, and then a guy walking past my van. And I was like, what was that? I thought maybe it was my imagination, or one of the cats knocked something over or something, but that's what happened. Someone threw a coffee at the back of my van like a child, and it was a man, a grown man, acting like a toddler. Theme of the day, I guess.